Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
That was the magic of Tiger to me. Why did my mom care about when Tiger was playing? Because you might see something with every shot that you've never seen before. And that was, to me, the magnetic quality. And those guys have a little bit of that, but there aren't a ton of them. So to have those guys in the mix on the big weeks is great for the game.
The Smiley Show, only on Sport.
Welcome to hour number 3 live right here on this Wednesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. One more hour to go. Plenty of MLB previews coming your way in this third and final hour for a full slate Wednesday on the diamond and around the bigs. And we'll get ready for the first Saturday in May. That's the run for the roses in the 2025 Kentucky Derby. Our guy Dubsy, Dubs Anderson, joins us up next to talk to you about all of your Derby needs and how you should approach betting on the Kentucky Derby and our sweet Kentucky home coming our way on Saturday. Of course, we will preview both of our Game 5 matchups tonight. And then to end out the 3 hours and the show, Joe Madden with a look at what we are seeing on the ice right now around the Stanley Cup postseason. DRS, a jam-packed third and final hour on this Wednesday.
Got to ask Dubsy about my favorite horse, California Chrome, to see if he can win the latest edition of the Kentucky Derby this year. And away we go into hour number 3. It's action-packed, man, ready to go. I'm excited for the games tonight because there are a couple referendums that I need to understand that the Rockets can't be as bad as the Golden State Warriors being a 2 and a 7 seed. And also, there's no way the Los Angeles Lakers, because I think the NBA might go bankrupt at the end of the season if the Lakers don't hold those statistics here that we need to see from all the advertisers saying the people need to be watching these games. And the same thing with the New York Knicks. Yeah, they like the extended series because each team likes more home games. And the Knicks probably say, James Dolan, you have more money than you can, ever spend. You're like, will be great? Game 7 in my building, getting an extra 20,000 ticket sales with premium products and parking and all that together here. So we understand it. We're getting the 7 games multiple times here in round number 1, Ben. Believe that. Let's go.
We shall see, DRS. We've got 2 Game 6s tomorrow, one in L.A. The Clippers a strong favorite against the Nuggets, one in the Motor City. Detroit a slight favorite against the New York Knicks. Are we going to see 7 games in each of those spots? The odds makers at least slightly believing so. We do have 2 Game 5s tonight where the road teams are the underdogs, and yet it is those road teams that have the opportunity to clinch up 3-1 in these opening round sets. Will that be the case? Will we at least see 6 in both the Warriors and Rockets set and the Lakers and the Timberwolves? Donnie thinks something might be afoot, whether it's a conspiracy or just a fishy number. We hear from the people about how they approach our NBA playoff doubleheader on this Wednesday evening. Now in Fade the Public. DRS, you mentioned it for the Warriors in the Rockets game, how that betting looks right now, at least on the FanDuel Sportsbook, in terms of the percent of the bets and the money in those spread wagers. We said it for the Lakers and the Timberwolves as well. That was our early indication of how this Fade the Public poll might read at SportsGrid on Twitter. Who will win tonight's NBA playoff games? This just a money line parlay, a two-leg money line parlay for who are going to win our Game 5s tonight. And it's pretty clear to see. The Warriors and the Lakers, nearly 36%. That has most of the votes right now. Second most selected option, though, the Warriors and the Timberwolves. So more of a toss-up who wins the Lakers and T-Wolves game, although I think you might be able to talk yourself into a Timberwolves ticket. What we are not so concerned about, if you are the public, that's Golden State. Despite being a 4-point road dog tonight in H-Town, winning this series in only 5 games over the Rockets. Which way did DRS vote in this Fade the Public poll?
It's funny because the vote from me actually went Warriors and Lakers tonight, which is the favorite at about 36%. But what do I want to happen tonight? It's the Rockets and the Lakers to extend those series and at least get game 6s out of it. I do think you're going to get a great punch from the Rockets tonight on their home court. And again, everybody just expecting the series to be over because when Jimmy Butler plays, they're clearly the better team on the court itself. But I'm hoping that the Rockets can win that because, again, we talk about the referendum and what's the regular season mean if the number 2 seed can't show up in the playoffs when the odds makers told you that the number 2 seed doesn't mean anything in the Western Conference playoffs. And then there's the Lakers. I mean, you want to talk about late night. This is why we should have different times where these games should be played. I need that Lakers game at 7 o'clock tonight. The reason being is because I want the instant reaction from the public when they're up, like, what just happened? The Lakers and LeBron James and Luka Doncic that were supposed to make a challenge to winning a championship this year got knocked out in 5 games, which includes the elimination on their home court. How embarrassing that is. Like, I'm going to end up waking up tomorrow morning like, oh, man, the Lakers got beat in that game. Oh, boy, there's going to be a lot of fire. Like, I'm missing out on, like, the national fire that would happen tonight if the Lakers end up getting beaten tonight by the Minnesota Timberwolves.
You know, DRS, what's so fascinating is I kind of agree with you. We had 4 games last night in our NBA playoff quadruple header, and there was so much theatrics early. The Pacers and the Bucks ending in overtime, a great game inside the Garden between the Pistons and the Knicks. But the game I think that you and I were most looking forward to yesterday was Game 5 at altitude between the Nuggets and the Clippers. Now, it was our second most lopsided affair. Denver won by 16, 131-115. But after the 3 games that we saw early, it was almost kind of forgotten about based on everything that we saw. Now, I travel to LA this weekend tomorrow. You know what I'm excited for? Being in LA tomorrow night when the Clippers and the Nuggets tip around 7 p.m. local time. I will not be at the Intuit Dome. I will not be a part of the wall, but I think I'll have a good opportunity to watch that game. You know what a Fade the Public poll that we should run at some point, especially in the summer when sports kind of quiet down? What is the best time zone to consume sports? East, Central, Mountain, Pacific. I think
goes right
it's
in
either
order.
Central or Mountain, but I would wonder what the public would have to say.
Yeah, you're right about that because, like, I always used to think, like, the NFL, because being an East Coast kid, you're a West Coast kid. I remember so many times, Ben, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade watching NFL games, and I'd be like, my weekend is over. Like, the sun is going down after the 4 o'clock game. Like, man, how lucky are the West Coast kids out there where they have another 3 hours to go out and play outside and watch NFL football and do whatever they want. The East Coast time, which where the majority of people live, gets the shaft on so many different things. But the only downfall, I guess, would be is, like, the early kickoff on an NFL Sunday, and then if there's like a UK game or something that does change. But for me, I would love that. Like, I hear you saying on the Central and the Mountain West time zones or Mountain time zone. I would love to be on the West time zone. It's everything is right in your wheelhouse. No matter the time, you can always watch it.
Now, I have lived in 3 of the 4, not the Mountain time zone. I love Central time zone. I think it was great for consuming sports because even those late night games, DRS 9 p.m., not the latest start. Maybe you're not staying up for the entirety of the game tonight in LA, but you get to see a little bit of it. I have heard some of my friends that live in Denver say the Mountain time zone is great. It's not as early as Pacific time. And again, you're still not staying up super late for those West Coast finishes. I do think at times, now in my later years, especially in your later years as you wake up earlier and earlier on the weekends, that a 9 a.m. start for college football or a 10 a.m. start for an NFL Sunday doesn't sound nearly as bad. But when I was in high school and you're sleeping in, not great. You're missing a lot of that early action. And I guess if there's a 7:30 p.m. Eastern time start, 4:30 p.m. and you're still at work, that's not great either. I still think Pacific time zone is pretty good. By the way, and we'll talk more about it as we continue to break down our doubleheader tonight, I voted for the Rockets and the Lakers. I do think we see 6 in each of these series. And what has convinced me is the results of the Fade the Public polls and those public betting stats that we have on FanDuel and what the lines are telling us at this moment. A Kentucky Derby preview with Dubsy next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Today is a Wednesday. It's the final day in the month of April. That means May starts tomorrow. In a couple of days after that, the first Saturday in May is reserved for one thing above all else, the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs. The 2025 Kentucky Derby, the 151st running for the Roses. We get you set for it with our guy, Dubs Anderson. Dubsy joining us bright and early on this Wednesday morning to look at the early odds, the favorites you should know, and everything that we will see come this weekend at Churchill Downs. Dubsy, as always, we appreciate the time and thank you for being here.
Great to see you, gentlemen. One of the biggest weeks in professional sports, the Kentucky Derby. It doesn't matter if you're into the football, the basketball, the horse racing takes center stage this Saturday afternoon out there beneath the Twin Spires. And what a stage, what a race it's shaping out to be. We're going to have some fantastic weather. It looks like the sun is starting to clear up through Friday into Saturday. And it looks to be one of the more competitive fields that we've seen, gentlemen. I think you just highlighted the early speed. Sign up in bunches for this one this year, Donnie.
Dubsy, I really do not enjoy when it's muddy and it's rainy and it's sloppy. I want a fast track at Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby year in, year out. Here are the odds right now. We'll dive into these horses in just a minute. And of course, who is their jockey? Journalism is the favorite as of right now. Yeah, Journalism come back for the Big Jays, a 7-2 price. But Dubsy, as you look at the favorites with the shortest numbers, as you look at this year's field, what are some of the main storylines for you entering the 2025 Kentucky Derby?
Look, Journalism, rightfully so, the top choice in the betting, and will go off as the post-time favorite. The only knock that I can come up with against Journalism is you look at some of the races that we exit, and there's only been on one occasion where Journalism has beat more than 5 competitors, 5 other horses. What's different about the Kentucky Derby? There are 20 horses going into the starting gate. These are 3-year-olds, not with a lot of racing experience. Start number 5, start number 6. So I think that could actually hurt the chances for Journalism. Now, I guess what bodes well in favor is that, Journalism has also taken down the 2-year-old champ in Citizen Bull. Citizen Bull trained for Bob Baffert. Now, Bob Baffert, whether you like him, you hate him, he is an icon in this sport. He is a Hall of Fame conditioner, and he has 2 very live chances coming into this race. Citizen Bull is one of those. What we saw last season, earlier this year, there is talent in bunches. There's early speed in bunches, and I think we're going to get a very nice-looking track on Saturday afternoon. People are sleeping on the Bob Baffert runners because Journalism took the edge over him coming in out that lead-in prep race. I think Citizen Bull for Bob Baffert, after a 3-year suspension, chasing something very special, a 7th win right here in the Kentucky Derby. Watch out for Citizen Bull sitting at 20-1 on the morning line. It's not often that I like going against favorites, but I just think with the circumstances at that kind of price, Journalism for Michael McCarthy could be a little vulnerable coming into the big race on Saturday.
A lot of people aren't familiar that much with horse racing, but a lot of people just like to get down on one day with the Kentucky Derby. There's 20 horses, Dubsy, in this race. I'm not asking you right now for a favorite. We'll go over that in just a little bit. But how do you handicap the 20 horses? Like, what do you look at, and what are the advantages for some of these horses heading into this race?
Distance is going to be a massive factor, 1.25 miles. A lot of these horses are going to be trying this distance for the very first time on Saturday. You look at some of the prep races, races like the Florida Derby have a bit more weight, a bit more measure for them coming into this one. And then you look at the connections. It's a monster stage in sports. 150,000 people going to be out there beneath the Twin Spires. It's noisy. It's a raucous environment. Even for these horses, they are athletes at the end of the day. It can be a little unsettling. So you look towards the big trainers, the names like a Bob Baffert, like a D. Wayne Lucas, the coach, because they know how to prime up these 3-year-olds and get them set for the party. And then you've also got to put a bit of merit on the top jockeys, the top pilots. These are essentially the quarterbacks with the head coach there as your trainer, and they're trying to combine to get the 1-2 punch to get it done. So there's a lot of big factors, the weather, the way that track is going to play. And ultimately, we look at the pace of a race like a game script, on Sunday afternoon for a football game. And if you look at the way this race is expected to play out, there's some really early speed-looking types that are going to make a fast start from the jump, but it could be a battle of attrition, Donnie. Who could be that last one standing, that last one making a charge? Going back 2 years, it was Rich Strike from the clouds at 80-1, plus 8,000 at a monster price.
The greatest 2 minutes in sports. That's how the Kentucky Derby is known. And Dubsy, maybe for some who are not as familiar with betting on horse racing, it's a slightly different way of doing so. And there are so many different wagers that you can place. It could be a straight wager, just the horse that you want to win the Kentucky Derby and the Run for the Roses, or the exotics, the exacta, the trifecta, the superfecta. So if Dubs Anderson, here on this Wednesday morning, still a few days out, of course, from the opening Saturday in May, had one best bet for the 2025 Kentucky Derby, what would it be?
Let's go exacta, and it's the 2 Japanese runners up on top. I am massive on Luxor Cafe, the son of American Pharaoh, looking to make it 5 wins in a row and getting it done for Japan. If you've missed it, the Japanese thoroughbreds, the Japanese horses are winning all of the big races internationally, and this is the one that they are yet to figure out. They had 2 of the top 5 last year. Everyone forgets that. Forever Young, now considered to be the best racehorse in the world. Luxor Cafe is an absolute superstar with star jockey Joe Moreira aboard, 15-1 on the morning line, and we'll throw in Admire Daytona at 30-1. A big price, a winner of the UAE Derby, has already proven to have that ability to travel and get it done on a big stage. The 2 have squared off prior. It was Luxor Cafe getting the better of Admire Daytona on 2 occasions. They start side by side in the starting gate. From that 6th spot and that 7th spot, they're going to link up, and I think they're going to take down the rest of their North American foes. They've had 8 runners in the Kentucky Derby Japan, yet to get the win. They were so close last year. This is the time. This is the year. Luxor Cafe gets the win. Exacta, Admire Daytona underneath.
Tubbsy, I absolutely love it. I'll tell you this. I trust your guidance always. That exacta will be placed for me as well, my friend. We appreciate your time on this Wednesday morning, as always. More on the early line comes your way next.
Knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Second game of doubleheader. We don't know exactly who's going to be in the lineup, and maybe you get an extended game number 1, which means tired bullpens and closers used up, which aren't available for game number 2, and maybe finding some extra shots here. But I do think the pitching matchup more susceptible, Tom, to runs here.
This is part of what we look at. Like I said, I don't expect both teams to win. So we have a pitcher who may not be sustainable at 28.6, but he's playing well right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, you get rid of Booker, because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Wednesday on the early line on SportsGrid. Another full day around the Major League Baseball diamond to break down for you. 15 games, 30 clubs, all in action on this Wednesday around the bigs. DRS, we started off with the New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Of course, the Mets were the first team to 20 wins around the bigs. Basically a pick'em today up at Citi Field, slightly in favor of the D-backs. You see it there at -112, total at 8. The reason the Diamondbacks have the edge, Corbin Burnes gets the start for Arizona, the new ace out in the desert. What do you like today up in Flushing?
Yeah, I was just taking a look at some of the odds for this. We said, oh, that's interesting. It's an opener today for the New York Mets, who obviously are super hot at this point. But Brosabam will open as the right-handed pitcher. I don't know, maybe go an inning, if that, and then he's going to give way to another pitcher after that. You love the Arizona Diamondbacks regardless. Lefty or righty pitchers, they just hammer around. Corbin Carroll, Perdomo, Pavin Smith, Josh Naylor, Eugenio Suarez. And we're still waiting, by the way, and should be back sooner than later, is Ketel Marte getting back to that lineup. Had a very good open to the season, but hurt the hamstring. Now, if we flip it over to the other side with Corbin Burns, let me just take a look at his total this season so far, because usually he's at the top of the list. I don't see him. There we go. 16th out of 26 pitchers today, Ben. 4.05 ERA, a 4 xFIP number through 26 and 2/3 innings pitched. You do have Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and Jesse Winker, along with Francisco Alvarez. High ISO power numbers going up against right-handed pitching. And you take a look at Burns on the season. Has struggled a little bit with right-handed batters through 48 batters that he's faced and 66 batters to the left-hand side. Is it just so simple sometimes, even though I don't like the pitching matchup, I think it's better on Arizona's side. You're just riding the hot hand with the New York Mets right now at a cheap price at home.
21-9 DRS, best record in Major League Baseball. They scored 19 runs to get win 20 on Monday. Yesterday in the opener against the Diamondbacks, 8 runs, 8-3 the victory for the Amazons. And they led 8-0 early. Francisco Lindor, 2-run shot. Starling Marte, 2-run shot. Pete Alonso, a solo dinger as well. The New York Mets, the best team in baseball at 21-9. I mentioned the first team to get to 20 wins. Well, the second, the LA Dodgers, who have won 4 straight, 20-10 now the mark. San Diego at home yesterday in their California rivalry against the San Francisco Giants. Big win yesterday for the Pods after dropping 3 in a row over the weekend against the Tampa Bay Rays. So tonight, as we get ready to go between the Padres and the Giants, actually some day baseball at Petco, a -148 price in favor of San Diego. Over-under stands at 7. Michael King gets the start for the Padres. The price even more now favoring San Diego. DRS. Will the Padres make it 2 straight at home against their California rivals?
Trust your eyes or trust the analytics in this game? Michael King, sensational last year through 756 batters. This year, 135 batters against the number. He's been equally sensational. ISO power number of 107 and a weighted on base percentage of 258. Let's go to the other side and look at the pitching matchup going against the San Diego Padres. That's Landon Raup, who has struggled a little bit here with his ISO power number weighted on base percentage against right-handed batters. The lineup doesn't look all that great for San Diego today, but you might think you have a massive advantage on the mound with the Padres. But let's take a look at some of the other numbers. Raup on the card today, 26 pitchers. He's actually number 4. He's got an ERA that's slightly elevated at 4.56, but an xFIP of 3.27. So leading us to believe that he's getting a little bit unlucky. Now, Michael King, on the other hand, how about this? At 2.18 ERA and a 3.29 xFIP number. So you have the better ERA on one side, but the better xFIP on the other. If I'm just leaning into this equation and saying, well, which way do you want to trust? It's simply going to be Michael King at that point. But I do think the lineup does present itself better for the San Francisco Giants than it does the San Diego Padres. So just to keep it simple, 2 pitchers that should be able to hold down the batters, which last night the pitchers weren't able to do. Maybe they do it today during a day game. I lean more towards the under in this game than a side.
Pitching, Nick Pivetta got the win yesterday, DRS. Despite allowing 3 earned runs, the Padres won 7-4. Xander Bogaerts, 3 ribbies at the dish. Robert Suarez, the closer for San Diego, already his 11th save this season for the Padres. It's a short 2-game set between these NL West divisional foes. Lucas Giolito makes his return, and his Red Sox debut was once the ace in Chicago for the other pair of Sox, now a member of the Boston Red Sox. Gets the start today in Toronto, DRS. What do you see?
Yeah, tough there because we don't have too many statistics to go off of, even with Rodriguez, as I'm showing as the listed pitcher here for Toronto. Only 45 batters he's faced this year, but getting slugged, particularly from the right-hand side. If I'm just looking at this quickly here, take a right-handed batter. Maybe it's Alex Bregman, who's had absolutely tremendous success against right-handed pitching. Maybe that's the way to go.
10-2 the victory for the Red Sox yesterday, up in the 6th. NBA previews next.
career season for Elly De La Cruz. It happened last year. One of the most popular players in baseball as well. And a lot of guys are stealing bases again, and some of them seem like they may be able to steal more bases than Elly De La Cruz on the Cincinnati Reds. So I will ask you this question, Tom. Buy or sell, De La Cruz will lead the league in steals this season?
Sell. I sell on this. I'm not going to say it's already because he's just a handful behind, but there's another Cruz that could easily lead the league in steals, and that's O'Neill Cruz. But like you said, there are a lot of players stealing. Pete Crow Armstrong, I think, is always a viable option. Victor Scott, we know it can be very good. I think that's where we'll see things end up. The fact that he did so last year and he was the odds-on favorite to lead the league in steals this year, I just don't see it repeating. And frankly, there's going to be a point where maybe the Reds need to protect him. Like, they need him to be healthy. You don't want him potentially risk himself on any further injury if they're going to make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll catch fire. I'm going to buy this. And the Reds went for about a week and a half without basically scoring a run. I do think as the weather heats up, he will get on base more. It has been, as I've said, a wintry April in a lot of different locations. And I can't quite figure out why the Reds, especially at home, are not hitting like they have in the past. And I'm just going to put it down as weather and nothing else. So I'm going to say De La Cruz at the end of the year does it. The competition, and Tom brought up a great point. O'Neill Cruz certainly off to a great start too, but I'm going to end up buying this, and I think 85 steals again for Elly De La Cruz, somewhere along those lines. Yeah, why not?
Fantasy sports today. Weekends starting at 8 a.m. Only on SportsGrid.
A doubleheader of Game 5s tonight in the NBA postseason, where both home teams are down 3-1, but expected at least to stave off elimination, according to the odds makers, as both home teams are home favorites on this Wednesday night. DRS, we start with the Rockets referendum in Houston. The Rockets now a 4-point favorite despite trailing this series by 2 games against the Golden State Warriors. Total stands at 203 and a hook. Donnie, let's start with the referendum and where you stand right now on the significance of the regular season. Houston is the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Golden State played like the 2 seed after the acquisition of Jimmy Butler, 24-7 down the stretch of the regular season from Jimmy's first game back in early February. Straight up, that is, in terms of the record. But if the Rockets lose this series in gentleman's sweeping fashion, if they lose in only 5 games, is that it for Donnie Rightside when it comes to watching the regular season in the association?
Yeah, and I said it like before the series started, which would lead you to believe that everybody will be healthy for the duration of the series. Maybe we have a long series, maybe we have a shorter series, but let's see how this plays out. But I still would be upset if Houston got knocked out because the way they were being treated in the odds market, which is a correlation of them telling us the regular season doesn't matter one iota. And the players treated it such, and so do many NBA fans who don't really watch until the playoffs, including myself. But also, let's understand what's going on in this series, too. For all intents and purposes, Ben, Jimmy Butler's missed 2 full games, and we're still in a position where the Golden State Warriors are going to close out the Houston Rockets, which makes it even worse for me because, as I said, if Jimmy Butler was healthy all the way through, Game 6, it goes to Game 7, Game 5. Hey, you know what? The Warriors really, truly were just a better team. But a number 2 seed, de facto playing another team without their second-best player and still beating the brakes off them, I have an issue with that, and it makes it even worse from the perspective from my angle. But handicapping the game tonight, you try to remove that from the equation and understand how things work. And we also talked about how the public affection here so far for Golden State, it's like, hey, man, they're getting 4 points and they're the better team. Where do I sign up? And a lot of people are doing that. So reading the line tonight really shows me it is a Houston Rockets line, and I expect a good performance out of them. It's just the question is going to be, are some players going to actually show up who haven't been showing up for the Houston Rockets when it matters most in Houston?
And that's a really good point, DRS. And we'll talk about Jalen Green and what we can expect tonight, if anything. You would think if the Rockets are going to keep their season alive, They need more from their leading scorer throughout that regular season. But I do really find it interesting, DRF, because much like you, I was hoping that the Rockets would be in this spot. My 17-1 ticket on Houston to win the Western Conference is not looking great right now. And frankly, I wasn't expecting Houston to win the Western Conference. I was just hoping that the Rockets, when I bet this back in early February, would be the 2 or the 3 seed and have home floor advantage and maybe make that first round series competitive, winning that and giving me a cash out option at some point throughout the NBA playoffs, DRS. That has not been the case, of course, working against me. As we see it here, though, for this game, starting to smell a little bit, my friend, as you alluded to. I think it is a natural thought to see the Warriors in this series, to see Golden State in a series clinching chance tonight, getting 4 points, albeit on the road in Houston, and think to yourself, that team up 3-1 with Stephen Curry and now a healthy Jimmy Butler and all the playoff pedigree that follows the organization and these players individually, that team is getting 4 points, and we're seeing that reflected in how the public is approaching this game from the betting perspective. Now, 77% of the bets on the spread backing Golden State. Is there a world in which the Warriors cover and lose outright? For sure. We could see this game decided by 3 points or fewer, but that's not really, I think, what the public is believing in, DRS. The Dubs, 60% of the money in terms of our spread betting, backing Golden State as well. And yet, DRS, what was the opener for this game number 5?
The opening number for the game was, 3.5 at this point? So it's gone higher, up to 4s. You know what's interesting to see? Earlier this morning, before we were starting the show, most other outlets also were 4s across the board. We're starting to creep in at the -3.5 prices. I want to see where this gets by game time. Because, again, if you are getting that 3.5 and it goes below 3.5, which it says at 4 at the FanDuel Sportsbook, that means the money is pushing it into correct in that position. So that's why Ben asked the question, where did it open up and where does it stand? Where it's like, hey, everybody and their mom is betting the Golden State Warriors. Cool, 3.5 to 4. That shows that the odds makers believe that their algorithm is absolutely correct, and it could be a great night here for the sports books. And from a betting public perspective, we're saying, like, wait a second. They're looking to close them out, and they're getting points as the better basketball team. Where do I sign up on the Warriors? So it does make sense the way it plays out, but just reading that line, where the opening number is, where the line sits right now, and the money coming in, it is a Rockets line. It truly is.
Absolutely so, DRS, and that was the point, right? All overwhelming public betting from the Golden State Warriors. The odds makers would normally be like, well, maybe our number's wrong, or we got to at least lower the number to make it a little bit more enticing to try to get some even money on the Rockets. Nope, they've made it stronger. So I will bet Houston laying 4 points tonight, expecting the Rockets to show some resilience one final time. Now we go back to San Francisco for Game 6 of the Chase Center over the weekend. Yeah, I'm not feeling overly confident. Houston can even force a Game 7 back in their own home building, but at least showing a response tonight. And Donnie, it seems pretty clear to me how the Rockets do that, or at least have the best opportunity to keep their season alive. It's Jalen Green, man. Game number 2, 38 points, 8 made threes. That was the lone Rockets win so far in this opening round series. In the other 3 games, 1, 3, 4, single digits, fewer than 10 points. DRS, he has to be better tonight. He needs to sky over his points prop. 17, whoop-de-doo. Give me 20 or 25 if the Rockets win this game comfortably.
Yes, and I agree with you there. There's a correlation involved where it's like, yeah, the Rockets can win and their best players don't play well. Sure, they're home, and we've seen that happen before. But also at the same time, we don't think that's going to take place. You get another 11-point performance out of Jalen Green. I don't think you have enough offense to get by. And also, looking at those play-in props, a lot of those very economical. Like typically we'd see a guy 32 points, 31 points, 29 points. The highest guy is Steph Curry at 25.5, followed by Jimmy Butler now, who's risen to 20.5 at a plus 100 price. But everybody looking at Houston feels live to me at this point, right? Like Van Vliet to get around 15. Makes sense. Jalen Green, getting that discount from the regular season down by about 5 to 6 points or so. He sits there at 16.5. Şengün has been fantastic, 20.5. And then Amen Thompson at 12.5. It seems like a lot of people that I think that you can glom onto. It's just a matter of how you think this game is going to play out. Because if we get an over, let's just say 210 plus points in this game, I think a multitude of those guys hit. But I think you're right. where it's like sooner than later, and Jalen Green understands this, and players typically play better at home. And Jalen Green had a great game number 2 at home where he knows the eyes are on him. And also, superstar players, or the expectations from superstar players, aren't to cower in big moments like, oh, Ben, haven't played that well. Let me just let everybody else get involved. Like, no, you take that basketball as you've done your entire life and you execute on the court. And you might live with, hey, man, I went 2 of 18 from the floor. At least we went out with me being the best player, giving it my all on the court to try it out. So I agree with that premise. He should, and I expect him to have a good game tonight, which only means 20 points. That's not a great game. Just get out there and play.
Green, the only guy, DRS, for Houston this year to average better than 20 points per game, 21 exactly. In his 4th year in the NBA, the 2nd overall pick back in the summer of 2021. His first playoff experience. He admitted after game number 1 in that single-digit scoring effort, he was nervous. Well, how are you going to feel in your first elimination game? You better get those butterflies out very, very quick. The best player in this series for Houston, without a doubt, it's been Alperen Şengün. He has that highest points prop tonight. He had 31 in game number 4, giving the Rockets a chance. DRS, Houston has covered twice in this series. They were about a 4-point favorite in game number 2, made good on that number after basically being a pick'em price favorite in the opening game, and did cover as a 3.5-point dog by the hook, losing by 3 in game number 4. Steph Curry, only 17 points just a few nights ago, 25.5 his points prop. Jimmy Butler's also feels a little bit light at 20.5, 25 at least in the 2 full games he has played so far in this round. To LA we go next. Is so crazy that you get both ends of that spectrum, and the narrative trying to be correct in doing so and to make a statement for engagement. You're wrong, you've been wrong, and deal with the reality of the situation.
All of the people that analyze the draft mocked one in the first round, and even could he go to the Giants at number 3 or trade up back in that round. They got Dart, they didn't get Sanders, and the fall was on at that point.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Game number 5 tonight in Los Angeles. Can LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers keep their season alive on the brink tonight against Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves? DRS, much the same scenario that we just presented in Houston. The home team is trailing 3-1 in the opening round series and yet remains a pretty staunch favorite for game number 5 to keep that season afloat. 5.5-point spread in favor of the Lakers. That total for game number 5 tonight in LA is 209 and a hook. DRS, much like we presented in the first game of the night. Golden State, the road underdog with the series, with the ability to clinch the series tonight, getting most of the betting love from the public. Same story with Minnesota. 63% of the bets on the spread backing the Timberwolves. Now, this is even a larger number. The Lakers could win this outright. Minnesota could cover as a 5.5-point dog. But again, probably not the idea based on what we have seen so far in the opening 4 games of this opening round. You said right away, even after the Lakers were beat pretty bad in game number 4, you were buying back in on the Lake Show in the return to Southern California. Is that still the same thought entering tonight's game 5?
Yep, Lakers win by double digits tonight. You can book that. Don't have to watch it late at night. Wake up in the morning tomorrow and find your sports book with a little bit extra money in your account. That's just the way I feel at this point, because I do think the Lakers are a quality team. Are the Timberwolves slightly better right now? Yes, they have the lead in the series with a chance to close out in 5 games. But I also understand how the NBA works as well. And it might not be the Donnie conspiracy theory hat. We need them for ratings here. We understand how things work. Home court advantage. You're going to get the extra calls. You just have to make the plays yourself. So Luka Doncic comes out with a points prop of 31.5. LeBron James at 25.5. The expectations for those two, both to be at least around 30 points, which is a great start. But also, as I talk about a great start, that's exactly what you need on your home court. Now, I'm not saying Minnesota's playing with house money, but the urgency for Minnesota probably for them is, let's see what happens in this game, and if we turn it up, maybe we can come out with a victory. Do you know what the urgency for the Lakers is? Not to have a 25-24 first quarter. Hey, we scraped out the lead, or boy, we're down 4 points at the first. Let's hustle up. Is have a great offensive performance in the first by hitting 30 points and saying to yourselves, we're up 5, 6, or 7 points. Good start. Let's carry the momentum all the way through. And that might be the best bet you can have on the Lakers. It's one thing to be thought about like, okay, Minnesota's up at the break 6 points. You're in danger, Lakers. Like, this is supposed to be your game with urgency right out of the gate. What did LeBron James do? Was it game 2? Is like, hey, man, to pop NWA on the car just to get that right mind focus here so he can handle our business. He better be doing the same exact things in game number 5 because there is no tomorrow. If you don't have a good start and you don't have a good game, you're going home. And then we open up Pandora's box on, is LeBron James done? What do the Lakers do? Was it a Luka Doncic trade even worth it because he's completely gassed and it's not good enough on this Lakers team? We'll get to that if they lose, but I don't think they lose tonight. And that means getting off to a great start in the first quarter.
Yeah, absolutely so, DRS. 27-12, 8, 3, and 3 for LeBron James on Sunday in game number 4. Again, in that 3-point loss on the road in Minnesota. That's all well and good, but you need to see that continuously tonight for LeBron and for Luka Doncic as well. 31.5 the points prop for Luka, 25.5 the number for LeBron James. Both guys have to fill it up. There has been some questions about Luka's defensive effort in this series. Jackson Hayes has not done anything despite being the starting 5. I do wonder if that changes tonight, DRS, because as we shared, it wasn't Jackson Hayes in the second half. It was Dorian Finney-Smith basically inserted into that starting lineup alongside LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hachimura. That entire lineup of 5 played the entirety of the second half, all 24 minutes in the third and fourth quarters for J.J. Redick. I wonder if there is a change in the rotation. But we can highlight LeBron. We can highlight Luka. Of course, one of the stories of Game 4, that was Anthony Edwards, 43 points. He is a budding superstar in this league. He continues to be so, where he has earned those stripes, DRS, in the last few postseason runs for the T-Wolves. 43 points on Sunday. How does that look in game number 5 tonight?
Yeah, and we had a coach on a little bit earlier to talk about this, and it does make some sense because if you are from a Lakers perspective, let's just not let Anthony Edwards beat us, and if it is Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, or Naz Reid off the bench, then so be it, and we'll live with that. You can't let Anthony Edwards go off. So let's just say Ant has 35 points. Lakers probably are going home here because if their defensive metric was set up to stop him and couldn't stop him, they're not stopping anybody else at that point. Because we've seen times like, hey, you know what? Let Jokic beat us. He puts up 45 points. Like, look, nobody else is going to score. I don't think you do that with the Minnesota Timberwolves. You have to limit the damage from Anthony Edwards and cover the rest of your teams there. So for me, I look at Edwards, like 28.5. I do tend to lean towards the under because if I don't have the vibes that I think Minnesota's going to win, it doesn't mean that Ant can score 40 points and they can lose tonight. Don't get me wrong. But the correlation is Anthony Edwards, 24, 25, 26 points. The Lakers come away with a victory. That's how I see it playing out. Love Anthony Edwards, but I do think the focal point from J.J. Redick, to your point, is as well, is how does he make changes from the last game, which everybody panned the way he coached? Does he completely flip the script, or is he like, you know what, I'm going to be hard-headed and do the same exact thing because I think that's right?
The Lakers in both games, or the Lakers and T-Wolves in both games in L.A., staying under. With their 4 meetings in the regular season also going under. First 6 matchups this year between Minnesota and Los Angeles under. But our 2 games in the Twin Cities, the Timberwolves scored exactly 116 points in both contests. In both games, pushed to the over. That total is at 209.5. And DRS, just to reiterate, for both of our games tonight, Minnesota a minus 500 favorite to win this series. LA was close to a $2 minus money favorite entering game number 1. Stronger price, as you would assume, in favor of Golden State, the pre-series favorites, despite being the 7th seed. Minus 900 for the Warriors. Let me ask you, DRS. Rockets referendum, Lakers in this spot tonight. I think we're both kind of leaning. We see at least 6 in these series. Can the team trailing 3-1 right now actually end up with a first-round win?
Yes. By the way, tell me this, if you have it off the cuff. When's the Lakers Minnesota Timberwolves game number 7 for? Is there an estimated date, time? When is it?
Ooh, let me see if I can find it off the cuff. It would be Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sunday. Think of the ratings if they get to game 7. We will see a game number 7 in Los Angeles, people. Book that Sunday. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Maybe you believe Donnie in this spot. DRS, enjoy the money line. More on the early line up next. Is so crazy that you get both ends of that spectrum in the narrative trying to be correct in doing so and to make a statement for engagement. You're wrong, you've been wrong, and deal with the reality of the situation.
All of the people that analyze the draft mock 1 in the first round, and even could he go to the Giants at number 3 or trade up back in that round. They got Dart, they didn't get Sanders, and the fall was on at that point.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
You don't think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers can be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
A triple header of action tonight on the ice in the Stanley Cup postseason as it continues to roll on. Joe Madden joins us here on this Wednesday as we round out the early line to preview our 3 games tonight in Stanley Cup playoff action, and we appreciate the time sincerely, Joe, as always. We'll also do a quick look back on what we saw last night around the ice as well.
Yeah, absolutely craziness last night. The Ottawa Senators able to pull off that win versus Toronto. Everyone had counted this team out, and it's going to be crazy going into the next game, Game 6 in Ottawa. If Toronto doesn't score first, I think Ottawa is going to win the next one, Ben. So Toronto fans are worried, and rightly so.
Yeah, Joe, is going to start right there. It's starting to creep up once again. The Leafs have appeared in the playoffs 9 consecutive seasons, as we have shared in the previous 8 playoff trips. Only 1 series win. And it seemed like they were going to do that quickly, Joe, against Ottawa. They were up 3-0. But now, after they got beat 4-0 last night, up in the 6th, it's a 3-2 series. How tight do you think Toronto is at this moment?
It's a really tight series, and if I was sitting here with a ticket with the Toronto Maple Leafs, I would be quite nervous right now. I did go into this series having a ticket on the Ottawa Senators. Super disappointed after what we saw out of them in the first couple of games, but this is a young, scrappy team out there, and they have a never-say-die kind of attitude. Them beating the Toronto Maple Leafs last night was pivotal for their confidence, and taking it back home, if they can come out with a bang in that first period in Game 1, you're going to rattle there. The veteran players of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who, you know, we're all talking about it. It's in their heads how they can't get past these playoff series. So I do think the Ottawa Senators still have the ability to get the win. They're just going to need to come out so hard, so fast in the next game.
So, Joe, a couple of the other results last night from our 4. Carolina in double OT knocks out the New Jersey Devils. Not exactly easy last night for our Stanley Cup favorites, but they still win that opening round set in 5 games. Overtime thriller in Vegas. The Golden Knights take a 3-2 series lead over the Wild. And after trailing 0-2, Edmonton has responded, looking to knock out the Kings in the opening round for the 4th consecutive year. Of our other results last night, which stood out most to you?
You know, it was definitely the Edmonton Oilers. Being able to get the win there in LA was huge for this team. We talked about the home ice of the LA Kings and how pivotal it was for them to win that in this series. And for them to get these wins at home, they had to be able to get done, because now this game's going to go back to Edmonton. Edmonton with last change is so dangerous. And the LA Kings only able to score 1 goal last night versus the Edmonton Oilers. Well, that wasn't good news for them. Not being able to get the win was even worse. As I'm sitting here with the Kings ticket, and I'm not sure they can get it done. The Edmonton Oilers on their home ice with last change should be able to get the win like we've seen in those 2 games. And the LA Kings, it's just that stumble. They can't get past the Edmonton Oilers, and I'm not sure why, because they are the better team.
Yeah, and Joe, when those things start to happen time and again, and there's been a long-standing trend, some of those bad thoughts start to creep in. A triple header of action tonight on the ice. The Washington Capitals in game number 5, a hefty favorite at home. A very competitive series between the Lightning and the Panthers in the Sunshine State Showdown, but the reigning Stanley Cup champs in Florida up 3-1. And the Jets now in danger in a series tied at 2-2 against the St. Louis Blues. Joe, what is your favorite game on the ice tonight?
My favorite game is probably this one between the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. I do think the Winnipeg Jets, as long as Connor Hellebuck can get out of his head, can get the win in this. We know this team on their own home ice has been absolutely fantastic. With last change out here, while I like the St. Louis Blues, I love what they've been able to do in those home games. I do think Winnipeg can answer back in this. You've got to remember, this is a team that really limited the St. Louis Blues in those first 2 games on their home ice to only 8 high danger shots in both of those games. And we also look at them over the season, allowing the least goals at home. So I'm looking for the Winnipeg Jets to lock down, to get the win. Look for Connor Hellebuck to have that huge bounce back game. This should be that lower scoring 3-2 style game that's probably 4-2 finisher for the Winnipeg Jets because of an empty netter, Ben.
Not all on Connor Hellebuck, Joe, but the Jets allowing 12 total goals in 2 games in those 2 losses in St. Louis. Quickly here, Joe, our 2 clinching spots tonight in Game 5s, the Panthers and the Caps, with the opportunity to do so. We'll both do that tonight.
I don't think both get it done. I do think the Florida Panthers will be able to clinch it tonight. I just don't trust Andre Vasilevsky right now against his Panthers team. And yeah, I think Montreal can pull off the upset tonight, Ben. They're going to come out scrappy.
We appreciate it, Joe. As always, thank you for rounding out this Wednesday with us here on the Early Line. Show returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, live right here on SportsGrid.